my name's Mel. I am a parent of 3 autistic individuals. I'm autistic myself. I also run an organisation called Different Journeys, which predominantly employs autistic and carers of autistic people. When COVID hit, we actually didn't think we would survive Different Journeys because our whole purpose was all about social connection and interaction and getting people out of the house and connected with other people like them. And so although we went online and it was very rushed, and I think we did some phenomenal amount, over 100 online Zooms of different things. I know that we made lots and lots of flyers at that time as well to try and connect in with the community. But it was tough. It was tough, and we were hearing stories and people didn't know what to do. And if they didn't have supports in place before COVID started, they certainly didn't have them during COVID. During COVID, everyone was in shock, and every single person was, there were 6 lockdowns, I've just read, there's 6 lockdowns. And throughout that time, there was a resignedness at the start, to really quite despairing towards the end, because they couldn't do another one. They didn't know how they could get past all of this. And I think what we were learning, and my biggest learning journey out of COVID within my community, was the 70% more likely to have a comorbidity mental health issue if you're autistic, right? We also are 28% more likely to have suicide ideation compared to the rest of the community. And these stats were all well known. But then during COVID, if I use the example a psychiatrist gave me, is a neurotypical person, someone who's not autistic, everyone's got anxiety, and they've got a baseline anxiety of 2 to 3 on a daily basis. An autistic person's daily basis, is probably a 6 to 7, and that's how they function every day. And then when we have COVID come in, everybody's anxiety has moved up the scale. So, the neurotypical people, they're coming in at a 6 or 7 now, and so they are needing help, and justifiably so. But what's happened is our autistic community have then gone past 10. And so they are at real crisis points. But because everybody's going, oh, I need help, there was no probably defining moment to recognise about the autism. And then the other bit is, when we're doing treatment or we're trying to connect, put in therapy and things, a neurotypical person has better executive functioning and faster processing skills. And so they're able to follow, and respond to therapy, but not recognising that our autistic individuals are actually off the charts. And that's why the suicide ideation is so much higher. And then trying to bring them back down, they're not responding anywhere near as much as the neurotypical person. 1, because they're autistic, but 2, they're further along the anxiety scale. And this caused this was my greatest challenge in trying to get people to understand that it was worse, it was more severe, and probably it's been a really big journey about the comorbidity of mental health and autism, and being shunted between disability and mental health, and getting people to actually work collaboratively with us to go, is this, autism and mental health are walking side by side, but they need to be treated concurrently, not individually. I had one child that refused school. She would not participate in online. She did not feel safe. So she actually, for 2 years, didn't go to school. They sent work home, and we had support workers coming around to try and keep her engaged, but it's really impacted her ability. Now we've reconnected back to school, that she's almost a little bit behind. And probably one of the other things besides the increase in her anxiety is that she's doing an unscored VCE, and I would say that that's partly because of COVID as well. Online didn't work for any of my children at that time, and my eldest was in her first year of uni and it was diabolical, and we had to end up renting an empty office space for her to actually go to uni within the 5 kilometres, for her to go to uni to actually do it there, because she couldn't work at the house with us. And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity of support workers and the NDIS, because I wouldn't be sitting here today having the same conversation. That was something that I actually felt quite privileged, because I have a long history of supports with my children, And without the NDIS, I actually think that we wouldn't have survived COVID. I know that we were able to, because COVID allowed us, and the NDIS allowed us, recognising the challenges, to have people coming in and out of the house, support workers. And I think one of the things that's really, COVID has, it's actually increased my trauma response in dealing with schools and NDIS and institutions, because you were constantly feeling that you had to justify even more, because everybody was distressed. Everybody was struggling. You know, I wouldn't want to be a teacher for quids, but trying to get that message across about just how bad it was. And that's what people don't factor in. And I know I felt quite powerless because I didn't know what to do. You weren't allowed to leave the house. I couldn't go anywhere. And so like I said, I was lucky I already had a team in place, but imagine if I didn't. And imagine if I was trying to find people. And that's what a lot of our families were experiencing. And they didn't know where to go. And they didn't know how to connect in. And they didn't have the words to be able to articulate those feelings, because it was just a mess. I know with the last, we had the 6th lockdown, that was probably the worst moment for me. I went, I just can't do this anymore. I can't keep pretending, because I tried to buoy myself up to support the kids. The other thing I want to is it's taken a lot longer for our community to come back. And I think that also needs to be noted, because we had to create new routines and new resources and new ways of doing things that then became, because we were in lockdown for so long, became a way of life. And then we had a safety element. You know, was it safe to go out? You know, the mask issue, people like myself who had mask exemptions were made to feel bad for going out in public. Or people that, that there was so much misinformation or cross-information that we were trying to process. Also, with the neuro-accessible language that wasn't there, the Department of Health, spread of germs. Is that me spreading my toast? When we're a literal community, trying to understand those words. So I've noticed even at our events when we went back, it's taken, other than one event, it's taken a longer time to get our community back. And, but I'm finding school refusals a lot higher. They just don't want to socialise now because they had 2 years of not. And it's about rechanging that. So I think that I know lots of people have had challenges coming back out of the routine. The work from home, people are liking working from home rather than always going into the office. But for our community, it's actually more than that. And they need a lot more scaffolding to get them back out and connected into society.